Hello people, and welcome back to part 17 of Ilos, my modded Cities Skylines build. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much indeed for all the support on the stream on Saturday. Let's have a little recap what we did, shall we? Made some little amendments over to the highway industry on the new slip ramps where the whole train into switch point is, and I refined a little bit of the detailing by just thinning out the trees and adding in some chain link fencing instead. Also removed the car parking off the roundabout, which Biffa called me out for. Thank you so much for that. And then we came over, added in another condo complex with some pools. Some little courtyards here with a little gazebo. And some plants and some benches and a planter with a live oak. Really happy with these cute little designs to use with the condo complexes. Brought in some more of these designs. And then we also built perhaps my favourite school that we've done in the city so far with a big parking lot road set up. And then lots of little car park detailing. And we did actually name this Darwin Elementary. So this is this is the natural selection school. So the kids have to run across a dark road to get into school, alongside the risk of being hit by falling coconuts. And then we also have at the back here some beehives, because this school does actually operate a mandatory 3rd grade beekeeping class with Asian hornets as well. So if you do make it through the school, you will learn some viable life lessons, but indeed very few do make it through. However, in today's episode, we are going to head over to the northeastern corner of the Mar grid and have a look what's happening here. We did actually briefly glance at this last episode to see what was happening, but now it's time to build it. So, to find out what's going to lie here, let's head over to Google Earth. Okay, and welcome back to Phoenix everyone. So we are in the Mar grid today, so we are looking at Mar grid inspiration. And let's head over to one of the northwest corners, alright, where this highway boxes it off. And we can see that we have a couple of different designs going on. Of course, we have more suburbia, right? We're used to sort of this endless flowing Phoenix suburbia now. This is fine. And we also have lots of car parking, so we can continue to satisfy the American fetish for car parks. There's so many of them here. Also some more big box retail here as well. There's a Target. There's also a PetSmart here too. So more retail, this is fine, but kind of the meat and potatoes is the medical center build, okay? So really cool designs. Lots of car parking again around them, lots of multi-story units as well, which we can use, of course. And we've got some nice ideas in store today of what we can use to create quite a high-end, almost luxurious private medical center complex that's going to sit alongside the highway. And also, looking at the interchange, we have lots of really interesting little frontage networks that blend into the highway, including a little point here. Okay, so we can do something with this. This road sort of snakes under and joins in the highway. There's also another one here that comes under the highway itself and then actually splits off into this side of the grid and then also feeds off as a slip ramp onto the highway as well. So lots of little tight interwove frontage networks here. It's quite interesting. So lots of inspiration, of course. But otherwise, that is our inspiration for today. Let's build a private, high-end medical complex, shall we? Okay, so first of all, let's start working on our initial frame here, shall we? So looking at Google Earth again for our inspiration, it appears as though that the road networks that come across what is the north side of the very top of the Mar grid are actually one-way roads. So that's what we're going to do here. And then we're going to keep this running down. We'll probably come on to a little bit of a freeform tool now. And then we'll start to meander through here. And this will eventually hook into the highway in various different directions like we saw earlier. Okay, so we can prepare that connection there. And then we know that's going to kind of serve as our top frame. All right, and we'll definitely want a traffic light here as well. Furthermore, we can also do something similar here, but I think rather than go over the highway this time, we're going to come under. It's going to allow us to do some nicer things with some keys. So using the fine road tools again, we'll snap to a road guideline and let's come down by 7 meters. This should be okay, I think. Yeah, let's go for there. And of course with Anarchy on, we can just come straight underneath. It should give us enough height clearance of what we need, I think. That should be good. And then of course, simple connection up. And then this can now rise back up to the top. Okay, of course. Forest brush is always going to be welcome. And then probably just run in with some little simple seawall keys here now, I think. Yeah, just go for these. Cool. So that's going to give us a little sunken underpass, and if we want to again, just some gentle amounts of surface painter are going to help kind of reinforce that underpass vibe, right? Be really cool once you've got people walking under here as well. Okay, so we know we're not always going to go over the highway. Sometimes we can come under and get some really nice looking infrastructure like this in. Okay, very cool indeed. So of course we're playing with tons of car parking today, and I think because of the shape and the style of the car parks that we're seeing in Phoenix, that big parking lots is going to be most appropriate instead of parking lot roads. So I think what I'm going to start doing is just with the drive roads, not going to bother with any border roads yet, is just begin to map out a frame of how and where the medical complex is going to sit. So also bring another one through here now. Now node controller still should affect these roads, I believe, so let's come onto this node here. Yeah, just start stretching everyone out. Let's go for a nice 20 meter offset, I think. Okay, just going to widen out those nodes, and we can do some nice, some perhaps maybe hospital branded intersection marking tool action today as well. So off camera, I have used Rico to remake the School of Medicine building into a dummy building, okay? So it's now a ploppable park and plaza, right? It's not a unique building. It doesn't need its campus area to sit. So I'm thinking we're going to have the School of Medicine as like the front of the building, right? Or like the front of the complex. I'm thinking probably about here is going to be a good spot for it. So I'm going to come back in, grab a parking lot. I'm going to grab a service road here, okay? Then a 22 meter parking lot. We're going to do I think a 4 curve will probably be appropriate. Repeat that again as well. Grab the service road. Come back down, okay? That's going to give us a nice little sort of curved car park. And then we can place in our spaces as we need. Has to be a little bit more refined with these just because of the angle that we're on, but that's okay. Let's get some accessible up at the top. And then we'll bring in some singular around the back as well. And now we can place the School of Medicine here. Okay. I think that's going to serve as a really cool entrance point into there, isn't it? And then let's see what other perhaps sort of plazas we have outside. We could use another one of these sunken ones, which actually does kind of have the same almost texture palette as the School of Medicine itself, doesn't it? So why don't we go with that? Again, we're painting the concrete. Just using a little bit of service painter. I think some vanilla walking pathway is always going to be appreciated, isn't it? Let's bring this up. Just slight walkability. And it's going to allow people to actually walk sort of in and around this plaza as well, which would be good. Plaza of the Dead as well. Kind of out front, right? Is that morbid? You put the Plaza of the Dead outside the hospital. It does centralise naturally as well. Okay. It could actually work better instead of the sunken plaza. Let's have a little look. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. let's go for that then. Let's do it those pathways so we don't eat into our node count for no reason. And we'll definitely want to bob away at those tree variants too. Let's bring those right down. Maybe replace with some acacia instead, okay? So now let's begin to sort of map out the initial frame of the complex with the drive roads again. So some places we will use parking lot roads, and for some more custom larger car parks we'll use big parking lots. So I guess really we will end up mixing and matching the two different styles today. Okay, so where do we want to bring this? Let's go up behind. We will bob those orders off of the School of Medicine as well. Okay. I think that's going to be a nice time, isn't it? Definitely want some multi-stories as well, of course. So let's go ahead and grab the ones that we have in the University. These are our King Leno's modern parking garages, alright? And we do have a few of these on campus as well. So let's have a little look where we can squeeze in one of these guys. Maybe go for one here. Yep, I'm happy with that. Let's then grab some more roads so we can continue the frame. So there's very little kind of open sandy space within this hospital complex is kind of very tightly packed in, quite heavily concreted. But that doesn't mean that we can't be creative with the use of some other assets as well. So let's come into our medical tab because I have downloaded a couple of little workshop assets. So we have the AHN hospital, which I believe is actually modelled off of a real hospital in Pittsburgh, of all places. But I think we can get away with it here, right? It's going to have, and maybe this is sort of like a oncology wing or a maternity ward, you know, some sort of separate ward away from the main hospital building. I think we can get away with it. So for the first time now, I want to have a little chat about how we can use big parking lots to actually wrap around a building, which gives them a really nice purpose, okay? So I'm going to bring out, let's see, what distance do I want here? Let's go for 7 tiles and then we'll switch over to a border road. Okay, so I'm going to go for 12 and then 9 and then another 12 and then another 9 over here. Okay, and then as always with these roads we want to grab our fillers, and this can now occupy this space here. And then likewise in there again. And then you want to grab your asset, and of course this works with anything, really, you know, whatever asset you want to play with, or place within these spaces can of course be placed. Okay, but you might want to, of course, factor in its orientation and position and whatnot. You know, what side of the building do we want facing where? And I think definitely we want it on this side. It's going to leave the ambulance entrance there, also the main entrance is here too. Okay, and any little inconsistencies can just be taken away, as always with Surface Painter. Alright, that's what I finagle over, small amount. Alright, and then with our parking lot roads now, we can just grab our parking spaces. Then we'll go for the ones with the curbs. Let's make sure that we factor in some disabled first of all. Let's go for these guys up at the front, and then we'll throw in some of our regular parking on the back as well. Any clipping can be taken away. Then why don't we bring in some of the spaces, curb space in the middle, just so we can start playing with different designs, alright? Then of course with your curb spaces that you'll find under your fences, if you are playing with these, no snapping. And as we reach the ends, we actually do want an angle snap, so we can do this. Which is longer than we need it, but move it is going to bring everyone back in line. Okay, let's grab the end of that node, and then shake it up to where the car parking space itself actually begins. There we go. Okay, cool. So a little more interesting way of using some of the parking lot road stuff. Get it to kind of wrap around the building. Of course you can do it on all 4 sides, just 3, just 1. But rather than sort of having it and then having buildings placed around it, actually wrapping them around the building will give us sort of a nice open complex feel here, okay, as these little medical centre buildings now start to spring up around the complex. So the next medical asset we have in line is the University Hospital, which comes from the workshop. Again, all of my workshop assets will be linked down below here. Now, this is a cool one because it sits over the road, very much in the vein that we did over in the Tucson University. This one over here where we just anarched it through using the mod. So, really like that one. And we now have a building that functions like that itself. And I think it's going to be sort of a similar story. Okay, I'm going to bring in this road up here now. I think we will also connect in there as well. I think for this point we will actually use parking lot roads. Let's go for a wider one where we're near sort of a chunkier looking asset. How I feel about there. Looks like we maybe want to be one more node over, doesn't it? Let's do that then. Let's use a road length marker as well. Okay. And then hopefully just a nice simple stretch where we can just move it to just shift that pillar off of the land. Okay. I think that's going to be grand, isn't it? It's very fun sort of piecing these complexes together. I guess that's what you would call it, right? Sort of a complex building. You know, I'm not averse to coming in and also including some campus assets as well. If we wanted to, we could have a look at some of the trade school stuff. Some of these would look really nice over here, especially like the laboratories, right? Very medical looking building, as is the media lab too. Even though it is media, but you can pretend, right? The School of Tourism and Travel is also a very medical looking building. Certainly not the School of Engineering though. Again, you know, the School of Environmental Studies is also really important looking as well, isn't it? As is the School of Economics, which does look like a hospital in itself. Alongside the Liberal Arts Media Lab as well. Okay, so I think I'm going to use that here. So I know that I've already used it in my university. I can find one, there it is. So I'll copy and paste that. Oh, looks like we've got some nice walking porn happening. Should make a short of this. This is a good one to have. I hope you guys have been enjoying the shorts as well. We put up an Ilos one, a Palaven one. If you have any requests for any specific scenes for shorts, please do let me know down in the comments. Okay, so I think I'm going to have this one maybe up on the corner here. Okay, now it's going to complain, isn't it? Because there's no campus area here. It's saying that this is not in the campus area. However, Ploppable Rico says otherwise. Let's add a local save to this and then we can decide exactly what this is going to be. Could actually make it residential if I wanted to, okay? That's really cool. I can maybe say that 10 people live here. I can save those changes and then this media lab actually becomes a house now. So it's not going to complain anymore that it doesn't have a campus area because the game thinks it's residential. Equally as much you can change it to whatever. You can make it a dummy so it's literally just sort of a prop on a plaza. Or commercial, office, industrial, etc. So Ploppable Rico, fantastic mod for using these assets, which I'm such a fan of doing. You know, using these where I want to use them, not just in campus areas. Ploppable Rico is just fantastic for it. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to have that there, I think. So then come in with, yet again, sort of more frames to keep all of these sort of main central assets boxed in. We definitely don't want to connect there, though. Let's just sort of leave this as a frontage network here. Possibly connect back into the one-way system here, too. So I'm going to grab another multi-story unit now. Okay. Again, you might be thinking this is a ton of car parking, Egg, but, you know, we're inspired by Phoenix. And we have to keep satisfying this insane amount of car parking that Phoenix has, alright? But I do like the aesthetic of it, to be fair. I think it's very appealing in Cities Skylines to have all this sort of sat together. So rather than just using constant medical buildings, I want to come into the world of office assets and start merging some together to help create essentially just like another little medical facility, right? And I know that we do have a building that has the big H on the top, which is quite hospital to me, right? So we can have like a helicopter landing pad here. I think that would very much tie in. And then using these level 1 3x3s, I think what we're going to do is perhaps create like a little 4 deep pattern of these, okay? And then we're going to grab both of them. We're going to finagle together. And then this boy is going to come around as well. And then he's going to sort of sit in the middle of them here. To create a sense of like a little tower. And we can pretty much tie up with the centralization there. Okay, so that's going to be another little sort of medical facility complex for us, right? Again, I think it's going to be an asset that's going to have car parks wrapped around it in order for sort of reinforcing that nice big open car park vibe. And this will work with a couple of different ones as well. You can kind of go for a sort of an old school hospital look here if you wanted to. With some of these repeated office assets, it's a little bit too brutalist for what I'm after today. But plenty of these little office combos will work nicely. And then we've also got some nice sort of generic office buildings here, which can be sort of melded together to create slightly more nicer designs. So again, I think I'm happy to have that there. And then maybe just drag it over a touch more. And then we can do yet more sort of wrapped car park action. Okay, so let's come into another border road. And we can draw this straight the way around. Bring it behind like that. And then we can make this border as well. And now let's grab ourselves a filler. So we'll just lose one temporarily while we put these in. Again, if you'd like to kind of learn the ins and outs of these different car parking mods, there is a car parking tutorial up on the channel that walks you through sort of the various ways that you can get them. Okay, and then again, let's feed off another little drive road here now that perhaps feeds into the other complex over here. So more interconnectivity for everyone involved, alright? Already getting some people coming through here as well. And because we've recoded a few of these buildings into essentially parks now, it's going to help make the medical facility really busy, which will be quite an appreciated aesthetic. Let's also extend the roads that come down here as well, okay? And we can possibly bring in some grass as well today. Definitely not averse to a little bit of greenery. Okay, not too much though, just really in that sort of main central spot. Already now I'm starting to see the vibe develop that I'm after. Lots of large, important, individual building assets that are all sort of part of the same complex. Different wings of the hospital, right? I hope we can start to put something like this together. So I think as well we can also get away with including some of the vanilla service assets in here as well. And the fire helicopter depot, whilst it is kind of fire service and I'm not opposed to having that, there's nothing on it that particularly screams fire, and I think the red colour kind of lends itself well to the whole medical theme. And I'm also happy to have the helicopter landing pad decals here too. So I think I'm on board with including a little helicopter facility in here as well. Again, just to serve as one of those sort of major eye-drawing assets that are dotted around this complex now. So I think over here, I also want to include something of a little park space. You know, where kind of you can come and remember the death of your loved ones and remember them fondly. And equally as much, the death of the hated can also be celebrated. I think also in this park, I'm happy to include just a really small water feature somewhere, okay? Let's break this road here. And then we can essentially make a little bridge out of it, alright? So let's just dig out like a really shallow cavity. Nothing too major. Try to keep it a slightly more interesting shape as well. I'll have a little bit more of that. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves a water source. Raise it down, and then I'm just going to have a really small, mini little lake that can sit here. And let's grab one of our little American roads. We'll force down to ground. As we approach the lake, we can force into elevation. And then force back down to ground as we come back into here. Okay. So again, it's a little bit rudimentary at the minute, but it's vibes that can be expanded, of course. Bring in some regular vanilla gravel path, I think, to serve as a little walking spot around the lake. And then we can drop in some gazebos and stuff as well here. So, you know, you've arrived at the facility, perhaps your loved ones are in the care of the complex, and you need to sort of get some outdoor space, clear your head a little bit. Pretty sure most major sort of hospital complexes have this, right? And then we can maybe bring in some of these cuter little gazebos on the side. Definitely some park life gazebos will be more than welcome here too, I think. Okay, especially when we get them in at the right angle. A couple of these, let's go for maybe one of the brown ones on this corner. Right, I don't think some fencing is going to be out of the question either. I'm probably feeling some farm for this, I think. So it is a little bit of a landscape garden, right? Bring this all the way around. Let's get some curves as well where we're going to start widening out these node points. Let's definitely bring in some content creator trees too. Definitely some live oaks. And of course lots of our favourite California palms, although I will try and stick to the workshop ones for this if possible. I do prefer them. But I'm not totally averse to the other ones either. Okay, and then definitely some rocks in here too. Certainly around the edge of the water. And perhaps a little park life cafe wouldn't go amiss either, although I think probably use maybe something from the zoo pack. I definitely like zoo cafe number 1. Is always a favourite, isn't it? Let's take that arm away. I'll place that on the corner. Give it a little spin. And of course we can use those same tiles from the zoo pack just to help expand it out. And then use the tables around it again as well. Okay, and if we really care, we can't actually bob the zoo sign off of it, so it's not kind of showing as a zoo, alright? So an initial impression of what we can do with some sort of hospital memorial park over here as well, okay? All different kind of ideas and themes that we can factor into our build that is in this style. And just while we do some surface painter here to round off the edge of the School of Medicine, a shout out to Eggsy and Karina for helping me fix the error that we've been having in Ilos for a few episodes. And for those that have been following, you'll know it was that network error thing. It was actually Advanced Vehicle Options mod that was causing that error. So if you do have that mod, do unsubscribe from it if it's giving you the same issue that I was having. And you'll notice that it's not here anymore. So an enormous shout out to Eggsy and Karina for that one. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got that fixed. Okay, so we can paint out a larger sort of concrete space outside of the School of Medicine now. It's probably worth sort of carrying on over here, isn't it? Yeah, let's do that. Wonderful. We'll bob away those trees during the detail time lapse as well, of course. And we're also going to dual name our memorial hospital after Eggsy and Karina as an enormous thank you for their Patreon support and indeed helping me fix that mod issue. So thank you so much, guys. I love you both. And I hope you enjoy having this little medical facility named after yourselves. Okay, it's coming together now, isn't it? It's coming together. So I think we can also get away with including a child healthcare centre, almost though it's some kind of pediatric ward, right? You know, this is where any sort of poorly children might come and be treated, rather than sort of going into the big, scary, intimidating main building. There's maybe a little playground nearby, some softer play outside, so we can repurpose the child healthcare centre a little bit for that. Then I also don't think I'm totally against the inclusion of one of the gymnasiums as well, because, you know, it's a healthcare facility. Maybe this is some kind of physical therapy rehab, you know? You can be creative with the placement of assets, so anyone who's suffered any kind of severe bone or ligament damage can come and rehabilitate at the gymnasium that's on the site. Okay, don't forget a lot of these open spaces here will also be repurposed into car parking as well during our detail time lapse. And I think definitely a pool will be more than welcome in here too. Alongside perhaps a yoga garden as well. So I'm going to just drag my sort of combo building over as well. Let's get this on the corner. Okay. Now sort of redraw this frame around the back end as well, so it's going to hug that as tight as possible. Again with an angle and a road snap. There we go, that's what we want. And we can trim that off. And then we can bring our park into the equation as well. So we're now starting to see something of a spice sample develop for the episode, okay? You're looking sort of down here. Lots of little sort of medical themed buildings are all sat within this position to just function this way, okay? It's going to be a nice time. Again, just scanning over my university assets. I can't refuse the laboratories, can I? It's going to blend into this sort of build so well, isn't it? Again, it's an asset that has to be given the correct respect and orientation just because of the front of it. Okay, we definitely want this sort of big open treed glass courtyard as the focal point of the build. And that's going to sit really nicely against our highway ramp here too. Alright. Nice drive-by for people coming along the highway. And it's another larger asset in here as well. Okay. Well, it's not too bad. So we'll save a lot of the car park work on the interior for our detailing time lapse. It's just going to be more sort of big parking lot roads like this, okay? Just several little spots of it all the way around. With various different designs, of course, such as this one over here. So in theme of what we did last episode, I definitely want to carry on providing more highway access for the Mar grid. So we're going to start bringing this one-way road in here now. Let's turn off tree anarchy as well. Give ourselves just a touch of forest brush. So I'm going to have to just slightly relocate some of these rocks, Karina. I'm so sorry. I know you spent ages detail in these intersections, but we have to bring some new infrastructure through. We will replace it. So again, we're going to come under by 7 meters, exactly the same depth that we did over here. And then we can see that this road essentially comes under the highway, which I'm happy to do. We're also going to want to upgrade this section here into a false elevation. Let's come to the upgrade tools. Yeah, we just want these to become bridge now. There we go. And then we can use these same roads to force the split. Just have to remove a lot of this. There we go. These as well. Fantastic. And then we can force back down to ground and start coming off with these little ones here. So we are using 2 lanes. And again, this one, it sort of forks off again as well. And then comes out of this side of the road network. So we're going to start getting lots of little crisscrossing layers of height now, which of course is always up our street, isn't it? And then we can just use move it to amend these roads so we're not getting any strange blue tearing. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. So we do have some keys here, which is fine. We are going to want to probably remove that section of it though. And again, we'll use move it just to line them back up with wherever this entry road comes in. We don't want to connect into here. Let's turn off snapping for the minute. Very nice. And then this can now just join up with the highway. And of course, we're going to want to make sure that there's no nasty slope, which can be sorted with network multi-tool. Okay, and just make sure that our height clearances are somewhat sensible here. And any sort of node or bend jank can just be ever so slightly refined with a little bit of the old faithful. Okay, and then this key end now can just be dragged back into position. Okay, and we can use node controller here as well. Straighten everyone off and offset the red. And then just widen out this intersection joining point here as well. So I'm really interested just to see how many people we get using this road, of course, for which it will want to be hooked in. We will reco this building as well, so it doesn't get the annoying has no campus area warning. Okay, let's turn snapping back on now too. There we go. And then we'll just amend some curves here, so it flows a little bit more naturally. And now I'm just really interested to see how many people will prefer to actually exit the bar grid from this side here. So hopefully while we leave the game going on 3 speed, that will come to fruition. Meanwhile, this road now can go off in this direction, and we can eventually start to fill out this side of Ilos, which we will move a little more into sort of Paradise Valley and Tempe vibes, really, and try and head away from some of the Glendale stuff we've been focusing on very heavily this side. As we move over here, of course, Ilos' canal build will also be located out this way too. And then this road here can now just gently feed back into this initial frame, for which we will draw out from this side first. There we go. And we can feed that in. And again, provide connectivity. Of course, this road on the interchange is going to want to be forced into an elevation with the fine road tools. That's going to be helpful for me. Some way of touch of those bushes as well. There we go. And then with any sort of nasty terrain that's left, although this terrain here isn't that bad, just a touch to soften around all the edges. We'll take a little bit of the sting out of it, okay? And this is just going to add another layer of really cool sort of crisscross transport infrastructure, again, sort of inspired by Phoenix, just another way on and off of the highway for people. Okay. Yes, there we go. Looks like these guys are going to take it. I also wonder where they're going. I bet they're leaving the city, right? Yes, driving out of the city. You're driving home. Where do you live? All the way over here. Surely that's not a quicker way for you to go, is it? A long way away. She's heading all the way around. Okay. Oh, no. No, yeah, okay. She's using the other one. Okay, even this is getting used now as well, then. Okay. That's great. I'm happy to see that in use already. And then again, any sort of inconsistent slope work can just be tidied up with a couple of hits of network multi-slope. and tidy everyone up. Of course, this section here is always subject to change as the city grows and develops this side, but for right now, at least it has a connection. And people are actually using this new slip system, which is very much up my street. So I'm going to time-lapse up some suburban expansion now, just so we have something this side of the hospital, so it's not just kind of left empty. Very similar to sort of what we've done with other generic residential expansion for Ilos. Just use lots of different little sort of designs and sort of cul-de-sac roads that we've been using in different places. So we'll get some of that going. Let's speed this up and then we can get some zoning in. So the suburb is now growing up behind us, and I want to come into some of the content creator buildings now. And in the spirit of fusing buildings together, we can have some good fusing porn here as we slide over the medical laboratory into our little sort of office complex here. The windows are going to complement each other nicely. That's going to sit together really nice, add some different layers of depth into the building as well, so it now kind of looks like one complete building, right? It's almost like a discount version of the the School of Medicine here, isn't it? That was totally unintentional, that was not intended. But we are sort of seeing a parallel here now, right? Okay, very nice indeed. So if you've got time for some fusing porn, Move It is just tremendously helpful for it. It's you can come up with essentially like brand new unique buildings by merging assets together like that. Okay, and if you haven't seen Few Candy's channel, she's one of the best at it, kind of piecing together vanilla assets like that to make new buildings. Just phenomenal work. Go and check her out. It's linked down below. Then I'm also thinking the General Hospital as well from the Japanese content creator pack. I think it's going to sit again as another little isolated unit on this side of the highway. And we can get some walking pathways back and two across here now as well. Not that I really want people walking on the quays, otherwise they're going to be clipping through the highways, but we can get some pathways back and two. Okay, feeding into this suburb over here. Very nice indeed. However guys, that does feel like a wonderful place for a detailing time-lapse. Of course we have lots and lots of car parking work to do. And very much in the vein that we have over here, just fill out lots of the space with more car parking as we saw on Google Earth. And come up with some nice prop decoration for the front of the School of Medicine, perhaps some fountains, lots of benches as well, I imagine. And then lots of repeated palm patterns around the edge of the arterial roads. Like I mentioned, some walking pathways back and two across the road as well. Alongside reinstate a little bit of the detailing that we lost in and around the interchange, bringing through this slip road. Drop in some more multi-stories, refine our park a little bit more, perhaps with some of the University City content creator buildings. Could definitely imagine like a catfish cafe over here as well. And then continue our fencing and tree designs. And then just generally tie the Eggsy and Karina Memorial Hospital complex into the rest of the Mar grid. And then we'll be right back. Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the episode, likes, comments and shares below really help me out. Even as much if you haven't enjoyed it, then please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Also brought in a metro station that feeds out of the central transport hub in the University, and added a recycling centre in, almost as like a place where people can store medical waste, and lots of prop detailing and surface painter as well. Really happy with this build, and especially the inclusion of the campus assets. I think it really kind of hammers home the medical hospital complex vibe, and plenty of multi-storing and ground level parking in here as well. As always, there was a ton of detail you guys wouldn't have seen, so please do hang around for the rest of the outro tag and check out this place at night time as it sets into the quickly filling Mar grid. Otherwise, I will shut up and I will leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.